So I'm just watching KKD's interview on Joy News or Joy FM. No, I think it's Joy News, right? And he basically hits the nail right on the head. He perfectly describes the situation in Ghana. Rampant looting, overseen and supervised by the president of Ghana himself. And his owner, the finance minister, the person who basically owns and controls this president. Um, I mean, they completely got the country fully re-enslaved. I mean, we're looking at another 50 years in the wilderness in this country, in Ghana, basically. The sort of nepotism, the sort of incompetence, the sort of like insatiable greed and wealth looting and transfer is just unbelievable. I mean, the whole COVID situation at the airport is one, for instance, where some company comes and basically the state helps the company use state assets to loot the state of millions and millions of dollars, right? We have like a minister of communications um, that like pushes like very unnecessary stuff like SIM re-registration, which is extremely flawed with substandard technology, where millions and millions that could be used for productive stuff, like to basically boost production in the country, like do business that brings profits. Basically, you go to again which is like basically procurement fraud driven projects. Like, again, the Electoral Commission goes for like, oh, a new register at some point, I think before 2020. And they're trying to do basically the same thing again. Like, let's take all these millions of donor money, of taxpayers' money, being handed to like external companies, basically. But one of the times I heard like it was some Kenyan company was involved in one of these. Somebody make some friend outside there, then bring them into the fold, then like pass on a contract that can be done easily in Ghana. And the former administration was doing basically similar stuff, like say with the SNET software issue. But the MPP now has basically completely re-enslaved this country, looted every single all the funds of the country is hanging in most probably in the Cayman Islands and other tax havens across the world. I mean, rampant, and they don't even cover their ass. The problem is the new administration coming would have to really, really clamp down. Laws in Ghana have to be applied to all these looters. I mean, the gang that basically plotted with elements of the Bank of Ghana to basically loot millions and millions again, hundreds of millions through like the liquidity support fraud, like which includes mental auto bail, for instance. Um, all these gangs like basically being freed, probably bribing people in the judiciary. I mean, anyway, the judiciary that kept quiet for the president to trample the laws of Ghana, mixing church and state, and destroying judicial property and others to basically build a cathedral. Like, firstly, a peasant at the level of a president who doesn't understand the relationship between Christianity and colonization and Christianity and slavery. I mean, spits in the face of Africans, like in a country like Ghana that has like a decent, a good history of, hey, we were one of the first or so-called first country to gain independence, blah blah blah. I mean, a president that doesn't understand the relationship with Christianity, cathedrals, and the pillage and looting of Africa for virtually hundreds of years should raise huge red flags. I mean, and for people voting for this party, and especially people with some education, people with some, it baffles me. It just baffles me. I mean, so as is Ghana is like done for me for another 30 to 50 years. I don't see this. I don't see any serious progress from the government area. I mean, Ghana should be having like comprehensive healthcare by now. Ghana should be having free education from start to PhD level, like countries like Finland and stuff like with the kind of resources that we have. I mean, Ghanaians should be providing labor across the world, which the people themselves are doing via their own initiatives, and also basically people have to escape the country to be able to make like a decent living, you know. So Ghana is basically nowhere close to where it's supposed to be. I mean, basic stuff like social housing. I mean, Ghana should be having at least 5 to 10 million social housing units now, like with properly arranged cities. I mean, we could have built a new administrative city by now, like a smart city, like what these Arabians and others are doing with the state resources, the monies that are supposed to. But in the first place, if the state resources are signed over to international corporations with collusion of criminals in government, like was attempted several times with PDS and um, other horrible sort of deals. I mean, I just heard one person from President Kovo's administration talking about how the whole Sino, a $20 billion developmental deal with China was basically flunked and mishandled by this administration. I mean, it's the administration basically the clownish nature. Like we have a Ghana where like we have like basically clowns like Wontumi and stuff like that. These guys